Hello, I'm Mario, and today's video is centered around the Hughes, that's a brand name, Autoformer. And what exactly this product does isn't really what this video is going to be about, but more about me implementing it in my travel trailer, because I have the Geo Pro travel trailer here behind me, and I've decided to implement this product here. And I'm not going to go too much into detail about, all of the stripping back of wire and that sort of thing. But I do want to go over the unboxing of the product, which accessories I ordered directly from Hughes, and then also include what it's going to look like, when it's totally complete. At least I'm hoping I'll be able to complete it. I haven't even unboxed the product yet, so I don't know if I have all of the tools. I don't know any of that stuff, so you're going to learn with me. So what this product is something that you might see how people have surge protectors in between their RV and the electrical supply at a campsite. Well, this essentially replaces that. It has an embedded surge protection, but it also has other stuff inside, including some coiled transformers. But yeah, let's get this thing unboxed. I'm looking at the top here, and apparently some of the accessories I ordered are actually here on top. There are different options available, and so what you could do is actually mount this thing at the pedestal, at the power outlet, and have it outside of your RV. What I opted for was a system that I can mount inside my Geo Pro. And so what happens is that I have this kit where I can hardwire to my RV and also have a place to plug the transformer, the Autoformer, in. And then I have a digital voltmeter, I guess they provided with their little accessory kit. So I guess that's exciting. And then of course I have some instructions here. So far, got the digital voltmeter. I got the pigtail for 30 amp. They have 50 amp options available. And then I have this this junction box with the 30 amp receptacle. All right, and this whole thing is pretty heavy and it's rather pricey. I think with everything shipped, I want to guess I spent under 600 bucks, but I'll show you guys. I'll indicate what the amount was. I can't get this open. Well, I see what they did. They just taped a second box for the kit on top. All right. So here actually is the Autoformer. Well, they definitely have a heavy enough gauge wire. But yeah, here is the Hughes Autoformer in all its glory. And I get a bicycle lock with it. That's cool. Comes with some instructions here, and that's it. So in general, here's the concept. You take the Hughes Autoformer. Basically, it's a transformer. Or it has transformer coils inside. So I don't know exactly what's going on inside, but you plug this in to the pedestal, to the power supplied at your RV site, and then you would plug your cable from your RV to this. Now, so this isn't really much different than trying to implement a surge protector, but the added functionality that's advertised and I believe is provided because this has transformer coils inside of it is that it will actually regulate the voltage supplied. So it's not regulating necessarily the amperage. You might see a sustained wattage consumed by it leveling out or managing consistent voltage, but it doesn't magically produce extra electricity from the grid, so to speak. So that's about as technical as I'm going to get into it. And so you might be able to use something similar to this. The reason why I went with this product, I looked at some options. So for instance, you could buy something where it has multiple components in one package, i.e. maybe you could purchase an inverter that also has an integrated charge controller in the system, you know, so it does, it'll invert the AC to DC and then also manage charging your house batteries all in one package. And then some of those inverter chargers even have this type of functionality built into it also. And I was really looking for something like that, but I couldn't find one. So if you guys know of one and maybe I made a mistake going this direction, you know, let me know in the comments. But what I was realizing when I was reading through all the white papers was that these inverter chargers that also managed what the functionality that this thing manages, that complete package, it was really only had a transformer coil for 15 amps. So I have a 30 amp trailer. I was looking at inverter chargers, and if I wanted this functionality in like a 30 amp system, the form factor was going to be like this huge, and it just had more muscle than what I was really looking for. So that's why I went this route. And then plus the ones that were maybe smaller, what was happening there is that it was only offering this functionality on 15 amps. It was only managing it on one of two branches for the 30 amp supply, whereas this thing will manage all 30 amps and give me clean voltage or consistent voltage on the full 30 amps. So that's my justification on going this route. So the other part number that I ordered, these are two part numbers here. One is the Autoformer. The other part number is the install kit for hardwiring. And then this is the install bracket for mounting on the interior of your RV. These are all provided by Hughes Autoformers. Looks like it kind of blew up inside the box there, but I got all my parts here. Okay, well I think I have all the hardware here, but it's hard to tell. I don't see a list of hardware that comes with the bracket, but at any rate, this part number here, this one, it's suitable for the 50 amp. It has brackets for the 50 amp and also the 30 amp Autoformer. So all of the hardware you need should be included here. And what this is doing is this is just functioning as a mounting bracket for the interior of your RV. And so the concept is that you would just, you know, mount this to the floor or wall or some corner in your RV, and then the Autoformer would simply rest inside here. It's been a couple of days, and it's going to take me several days to implement this whole thing. I mean, this actually is only one part of a huge project for the lithium batteries. But at any rate, I digress. The point here is that there is a bolt here, and what I've discovered is that if you want to render the Autoformer, well, maybe not useless, but render it non-functioning, then go ahead and loosen this bolt here. Well, let me back up one step. The way the input power is set up with this plug, and the concept behind the kit here that provides you know, the hardwired kit, this really doesn't offer it doesn't really offer a hardwired solution for my application in the travel trailer. I can see how this concept here would work really well for a 50 amp service in a large diesel pusher, for instance. Their systems, you know, they have their onboard cable and they have reels and all that sort of stuff. I could see that this system here incorporating into that type rather well. So what I'm getting at is that I need to be, well, I got to start thinking outside the box. And so what I do is I proceeded to, like I mentioned, render this non-functioning. And so here's what happened. I backed out this bolt here because I want to take this lid off. So there are 3 rivets in here, and I noticed that as I started backing out this bolt that it was rather loose, that I could actually move it. Let me kind of illustrate that. I could move it back and forth just by backing out this bolt. And so at any rate, I managed to unthread it, and then I could hear the parts inside rattle. I'm going to guess this acts as some sort of chassis ground, perhaps. So I don't know. I guess if I read the instructions, I would probably know more. So I'll just stop trying to explain it. But what I have to do is drill out these rivets. And before I started breaking it, I understood that was probably the direction I was heading, that I needed to drill out the rivets. So what I actually did was I called Hughes. Now, I didn't admit to them the mistake that I made. I don't want to necessarily let the public know about that. So I didn't tell him, but they answered the phone. It was a real live person. They were very helpful. And what I inquired was, this is a serviceable piece here, meaning that there's a part inside that you can order and actually you yourself can replace it. So what I did was I inquired about that. What is the process for replacing the surge protection, which is built into this generation, the newer generation of these autoformers? So at any rate, the guy was really helpful, and he says, yeah, we'll ship you out the correct drill bit size and some screws. The screws would replace the 3 rivets here. So I found, what I have on hand are these. As I mentioned, I didn't admit to him, so I was like, okay, well, thanks for the info. So now I don't know why. That's how I handled it. But I found these number 10 screws, and I think these would be large enough to displace the rivets there. The only issue is finding a good, imperial measurement drill bit that will remove these rivets. So I have in my hands a 9/64, and I guess the one below that is a 1/8. And what I don't want to do is create a whole bunch of metal shavings inside here, and I think the 1/8 would work, but it might just be too small. So I'm going to start with this larger one and see if I can't, without going all the way through, accomplish what I need to do here. So that's the next step. Drill those rivets out. Now the question is, I kept saying there's coils inside. Now we get to find out what's inside here. What I really need to do is get the spare parts out of there. Okay, I got one of the back sides of the rivets, and I have one nut that went with my bolt. I'm gonna guess there's a couple washers. See what else I can rattle out of here. Okay, one star washer, another one of the rivet backs. I do see a transformer coil in there. I don't know if I can get it. I don't know if there's enough light. Let's see. Anyway, that's the inside, and there is a coil down in the bottom, at least one. Like I said, I'm not an expert on that stuff. I don't know anything about it. I'm going to guess this black thing on top is the surge protection, and you know, it's just a one-time use thing, but you can monitor it using the lights up here. So if the lights indicate that your surge protection isn't working, then that would be the part that you need to fix, or replace rather. Okay. All right, there's the third rivet thingamajig bob. Okay, I don't hear any other noises. I'm gonna cut the camera. If I find anything else inside, I'll let you know. So now the trick is, so I have these number 10 screws. I don't know if these are gonna be large enough. I did not oversize the hole, so I was successful. Yeah, these number 10s look like the trick. So that's good, because the only other one I have is a number 14. So let's see how that works. Well, I was a little sloppy with drilling out one of the rivets, and so I oversized one of the holes. Otherwise, these number 10s work just fine. In fact, I wasn't too wild. This will work just fine. It's probably not going to be the last time I open the top of this thing. So it might seem like I'm just back where I started, but the difference for me is that I got to take a look inside and see how things are set up. And as I mentioned, or perhaps I didn't, I don't remember, but what I want to do with my input power on this, so right now this is the input, so I need electricity to flow into this, AC current into this, and what I really need is this to be hardwired somehow onto my trailer's receptacle. And their solution with the kit is to just go ahead and put that hardwire situation onto here. But now I got a receptacle on the outside of my trailer wired to this thing to plug this into here. So it's just, if I can eliminate some of that, then that's what I was trying to do. It may be that this is the best solution, and certainly looking inside here, I could possibly change that out. What I might end up doing is maybe cutting this cable here and then just simply hardwiring this onto the existing receptacle that I have on the RV. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, that's what happened. Looking inside lets me figure that out. And then same thing for the output. Right now, what we're talking about is, you know, I have this receptacle here, and what I would prefer is to have a wire coming out this side. And that's why they offer this part here, is I can plug this in here and then hardwire this to my RV's transfer switch. But the only problem for me is I don't want to mount this near my distribution panel. I want to mount it on the other side of the trailer. And so this cable specifically is not really going to function. And these things aren't cheap, you know, by the foot. So it just makes sense for me to use the Romex. So I still have to look at all the wiring underneath my trailer and figure this all out, but at least now I have insight into what hardwiring, literally hardwiring and not using, you know, adapters would look like. So yeah, off to the next step. Several days have gone by, actually a few weeks have gone by, and as I was buttoning this up, I noticed one thing that, so in this bolt here that manages the chassis ground, one lock washer escaped and was actually trapped up against what I believe is a relay in here. And so at any rate, I ended up kind of pulling things apart a lot more, because I noticed that in the ring terminals for the ground that there were markings for a lock washer there. So I knew it was in there. And what happened is that it got basically stuck up against the tape that was on the back of the relay. that was taping the relay to the chassis. So at any rate, I pulled it all apart and I put some VHB back there and got everything secured and made sure that the wires weren't going to end up chafing, because there's some sharp edges and stuff. So at any rate, I took my time and did that. So as I mentioned, a few weeks have gone by, so a lot of preparations, planning, and what I decided to do is I'm going to mount this underneath my bathroom sink. So I found a spot for that. So I went ahead and I assembled the mounting bracket here, and it's rather simple. So there are brackets specific to the 30 amp, which I mentioned. So I do have these 50 amp brackets are spares. There's 4 brackets that I won't be using, so that'll be trash. So I can't put this bracket at a right angle up against the wall because I have plumbing underneath the sink. Some furring is going to be necessary, and that's what I have this piece of wood here. So I'm going to use this basically so it'll stand off against the wall, act as furring material, and then I can run my plumbing back behind the bracket there. So that's the next step. I'm going to go ahead and get this stuff all mounted and put in there. So this is the space underneath the sink that I was referring to here. So I cleared things out. I moved the water pump. I moved a lot of the plumbing. I have my bracket set up here. The furring material, I have it mounted on the back. I got some VHB tape, and I have screws all ready to kind of just to help hold it there in place. The main part is going to be the base. I mean, I'm going to screw this to the floor, and there are these little feet here. So these little red things, they're just little that's just the peel back area for the little 3M glue stuff. So I just got to peel those off and then place it in here and get it mounted. All right, I got that thing fastened in there, and I think it's fastened rather securely. But let's see if actually the Autoformer is going to still fit inside there. I tried to make it as true as possible, so hopefully it's not racked in there. I'm going to take 2 hands. All right, so yeah, there's a little bit of play, as you can see, which so the tolerances aren't too tight. It looks pretty good. I'm gonna get the braces on there. Okay, great. So I got the braces on there, and they're adjustable. You can see they can just clip them on there and then fasten it. So I might snug it up a little more, but that looks pretty good right in there. But that's great. But now guess what? I need to plug this thing in, and then also I need to plug my RV into here, right? So this is the output, this is the input. So I have to get shore power connected to this, and then I have to connect my RV to this. Let's go ahead and try to take care of that. Oh my gosh. All right, let's go outside. During the implementation of this, some of the things that I've been trying to avoid are just a lot of connections. So like I have this receptacle or this connector and this plug, and just redundancy because I have another receptacle here. But instead of fighting that, what it turns out is I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to implement both of these items here that were part of the quote-unquote hardwire kit. And so what I have to do is I'm going to go ahead and disconnect my shore power, and I'm going to access it through here. So I'm going to pull this receptacle that came with the Geo Pro, and basically I'm going to connect this little junction box that has a connector here to the back of this, and then this I'm going to hardwire this to, well, still the other side of this, but this is basically going to flow out and to my RV. So this will connect to the output of the Autoformer, and I'll have this hardwired to my entire RV, whereas this will basically just sit on the back of here, and I can use that plug for the input on the Autoformer. So I hope that makes sense, but yeah, this is where I'm starting. So I gotta disconnect all of this stuff and unscrew this. So I decided to go with this because I was like thinking, okay, if I make a connection here, should I use like the little twist nuts? And you know, you see those a lot of in residential, but I needed something that would resist vibration. So I'm not saying this is the correct way, but I'm going with this little splice kit. I bought 3 of them, one for each terminal, one for each conductor. And basically this can withstand water and actually direct burial also. So I figured this would be robust enough where as long as I fasten it to the correct place, then I'm going to avoid using a junction box like this. I have my first splice here, and actually this is going to be my only splice. The other connections will use that junction box. But what I have here exactly is that this will be the output from the Autoformer. So I just need to shove that kind of back in the hole there. All right, so all of this wiring here on the other end of this plug is totally inside the RV right now. And as I mentioned, this is the output, so it will plug in directly there. Oy. Gosh, I can't do anything. Okay, so it'll plug in here like so. And that should fit in there okay. Then what I have is I still need to plug this into something. So this is the input, and what they provide you is they provide you with this little connector here. And so this receptacle I'm going to place inside the cabinets back here, and the other end that I have wired, so that's where the receptacle that came with the Geo Pro is going to be. So this is going to, I disconnected it and I just need to route it through that hole. So that was the original piece of Romex. I didn't purchase any additional wiring there. So I'll have to see, hopefully that's long enough. I was thinking of mounting it on the back of this wall here, but I could also mount it on the floor near that hole. So at any rate, I need to get that plug wired up, get all that stuff buttoned up, and then I'll see where I can mount that little box. All right, I think I have things tidied up. I mounted the receptacle for the input power just inside right here. So I just, some VHB, a couple screws, and then I just, back here, just kind of tidied things up so they wouldn't move around. So I think everything's situated. I even mounted my pump finally. So just a couple little wires here for the pump, and then I want to make sure that this cable isn't rubbing up against the pump. That's the idea, that this thing is modular, meaning I can just plug it in, right? I should just, this thing's heavy. All right, okay. Just set it in there. Then this one here, this is the input power. I can plug it in over here. And then this right here, just plug that into the box. I think we're at the moment of truth. So let's see if I'll let the smoke out of this box or we can keep it all contained. All right, well, just a couple connections and flip on the breaker panel. So this isn't powered yet, but I'm just going to plug it in. So my breaker's off. But here's the beauty. I get to eliminate this surge guard here, this surge protector. So I can unplug that. So I'll just plug this in and then pray that I did everything correctly. Let's go check the lights inside. Well, I don't know if you guys can see, but those lights look very green. I don't know what all that means. I don't hear any noises. I don't hear any issues. So I'm gonna guess everything's working really good. This wasn't a small project. It took a lot of planning, a lot of implementation, as you can tell. And I'm just happy to have it hooked up. And like I said, now I don't have to carry around that extra little surge protector. That's not a huge thing, and it's not the only reason, but so I mean, recently I did the water filter, and so I used to have like a water filter and a surge protector that I would have to carry along with my hoses and with my cable. So it's just making things a little bit easier, and it adds up. And then plus this has the functionality of maintaining that voltage, which is important, and I wanted to implement with my lithium build out. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about this. And what can I say? I think it's working. Man, I'm just happy. All right. Well, I'll let you know if everything burns down. I don't think it will. I double checked everything. It's hard, when you're filming, to keep track of where you are in the process of doing the work and also the process of filming. So it's possible to make mistakes, but I think I did it. So thanks for staying tuned in until the end. Not very climactic, but hey, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I really do. And I'm glad you guys are, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.